Okay, so today the movie that I'm breaking down is titled Metropolis. So hi, my name is Jessie. Today, I'm very pleased to do this movie reviews. I think this movie was really a good movie for several reasons, especially for today's society. I think it's really a mirror to what we're currently living if you live in a big city just like me in Montreal. Okay, so let's start. So as an introduction to this movie, I will bring the context, who produced the movie. I will also highlight the main themes. And afterwards, I will go through the scenes that were important. And I'm just going to speak about the scenes itself and the story and the theme and the signs, the symbology, and all of this good stuff. Okay, so first off, the movie was released on January 10 in 1927. Okay, and the duration of the movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I was able to find the movie here on YouTube. However, there was a disclaimer about this movie because since it was from way back. So it says, soon after its premiere, Metropolis was severely shortened and altered. So maybe it was even more than 2 hours and 30 minutes. Since then, more than a quarter of the film was assumed to have been lost. Assumed. In 2008, an almost complete version of the film was discovered in Buenos Aires. It reminds me of the symbol Aries. But I don't believe in the astrology. Anyway, the material was heavily damaged, and because it had been printed on 16mm film stock, does not have the full aperture silent picture ratio. But they really did a good job. So I'm going to present the version in black and white, the original black and white. But I know there's a color version now. The technology is really progressing. Okay, so first off, Metropolis. So I don't believe this is the main cover of the movie because I found several covers. But I think this one is pretty interesting. Let's start first by speaking about the papa that she's wearing. If you've seen... I do have a series on my channel titled Babylon in Hidden Sight. The Babel Tower, Babylon, the character of Babylon. And I think this movie is really depicting the character of Babylon and also the character of the Antichrist and the Father. The Trinity, basically. Okay. And of course, like I said in one of the episodes, the Pope and Babylon is the same person. It's literally the same person, and we're going to be able to see it throughout this movie. And also one thing is, sometimes people think of the Pope as just a male figure, but in the spirit world, a spirit can be manifested in a woman, just like it can be manifested in a man. Okay, the spirit doesn't matter about the sex. So truly the Pope and Babylon, which is a woman, both are intertwined. Okay, so let's start. So Metropolis. So it is basically a German silent film produced by UFA before World War II, which was in 1939 to 1945. So it depicts idolatry and slavery of current Babylon using the image of woman. Okay, so here the image of woman is really important. So this is one of the quotes I've seen them repeat, okay, which was really important even at the start of the movie, during the movie. So they were saying, the mediator between the head and the hands must be the heart. And I think this is a reference to the song Love Machine by Prince. Nowadays called also, Love Machine is also called AI and also known as Babylon. So Fritz Lang's the visual production was influenced by Jewish, Roman Catholicism and monk culture. So truly, this movie was inspired by idolatry, Babylon, or at least the dream of Babylon and idolatry, and the under gods. The movie was inscribed on UNESCO Memory of the World Register, which I was shocked because I was like, wow, this movie must be really important. But thinking about it, with all the references that we see throughout the movie, it makes sense. So Frederick Christian Anton Lang. So the movie was directed by Fritz Lang, so aka Fritz Lang, an Austrian-American writer. In his early life, he was an architect and construction company manager to a film director and producer. So he went from an architect to basically a film director and producer. So he has a lot of background in architecture. He was born in Vienna in Germany, of course, on December 5th in 1990. So he's the second son of Anton Lang. And the name Anton reminded me of Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan in Hollywood. So he became a naturalized citizen of the United States in 1939. So just when the World War II was starting. Finally, he died in Beverly Hills on August 2 in 1976. I feel like when someone is born somewhere, he always dies somewhere else. So also just mention the appearance of Mr. Lang. So see, he has this pirate look, right eye covered, which reminds me of the symbol of Illuminati, these pagan groups, the third eye, whatever they want to call it. So this producer, is his best known films includes Metropolis, the one we're seeing now, The Testament of Dr. Madus the Gambler, which I need to see just after this video, deemed as an anti-Nazi, Hangman Also Die, then Woman in the Moon, then M, Furry, You Only Live Once, Scarlet Street, which reminds me of Scarlet Woman from Doja Cat, and then The Big Heat, Human Desire, and more. I found also this cover that I thought was interesting because I really want to depict or at least show how when we think of Babylon, it's not only about a tower. Sometimes it's really a group of towers that makes Babylon, of course, because you have different social classes. So the higher you are, and that means that you have more money, you have a higher social class, and the lower you live, well, the lower is your social class. So this is how the society is made. And of course, when you look at the pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid is always denser, just like in this photo. But the top, there's few spaces. So it's like few heads directing a whole mass. Okay, and at the head, you generally find the master or the father in their case, okay, in the case of that movie. Okay, so so I think it's really interesting in this image how the buildings are pyramids, which also refers to the tower. So Babylon, we can think of the image of Egypt with the 3 pyramids. We can think, of course, of big cities like Montreal, New York, maybe even Dubai. And then you can also think of the book of Genesis when the giants wanted to have dominion. The son of men wanted to have dominions over the earth. And they said to themselves, let's build a tower as a sign of arrogance. Okay. So the first thing to mention, okay, in this movie and in Babylon City, time is the structure. The 24-hour. So in this case, there's night shift, there's day shift, and then there's evening shift. Okay, so the first scenes in the movie, it's basically the workers finishing their shifts, and then there's the shift change. So the evenings are coming in, the one of the day are coming out. And see, this to me, this scene looks like a metro station. If you're familiar in Montreal, in big cities like Montreal, you probably have metro station. So it really feels like underground. And then with the ceilings With the cells, it looks like a prison. Then you see the uniforms. They all have the same uniform, the hat, and also the uniform seems black or dark. Okay, a dark uniform. It looks like a choreography. They look dead, basically, like a Walking Dead city. And then where they're going, so they're going below. So even though they look like they're in the metro, it's like going in the depths of the metro. Can you imagine that? So you work at the metro level and then you live at the bottom of the metro level. How crazy is that? So when they arrive below, so here they are. They look very exhausted. They're all looking down. And that reminds me also of the cell phone and everyone on their phone. Personally, with my experience, when taking the metro, everyone has their head down. Very few people only watch out or interact with the environment. So lay the workers' city, so they're going to their city. So see how it's made. First of all, they're separated. Feels like every group will enter a building, all have their own building, and they're separated in groups. So same social class, but different groups. And then in the middle, you can see there's a antenne, like Athena, the antenne. Okay, so communication, so they can communicate. So this technology is already being programmed to us viewer in this movie. And also one thing I wanted to mention, the ceilings of the city, they seems like there's no natural light because this is clearly not a sky, but simply like lights on a ceiling. So yeah, so it seems like they don't have the sun rays coming to them. And this is one of the things to think of a pyramid or the buildings or the condos. When you live at the bottom, you get lesser lights. And when you live at the top, you get all the lights you want. And of course, living at the top is more expensive, contrary to living in the depths and in the basement of the underground, which is deeper than deeper. Okay, so we've seen the city below. So the city below the earth. So high above, it towered the complex known as the Club of the Suns. So keep in mind the clubs of the suns. Those are the privileged one. With its lecture halls and libraries, its theaters and stadiums. So we see that the rich, the Club of the Suns, likes to be entertained. Okay, so this is how they live. So unlike the workers, they are working lighter clothes, so white clothes. And also you can see the stadium in the back, which reminds me of the stadium here in Montreal. And I'm pretty sure like most big cities have stadium, just like in Rome. Okay, it's like Rome repeating itself. Then on the top, these looks like the Oscars, the Emmys, you know, the, how do we call them? Les médailles. I don't know how to call it. Anyway, the statue. What they do to entertain themselves, the clubs of the suns, the Club of the Suns. So they do Olympics. Okay, they do sports, tennis. They had a lot of entertainment.
Thousands of young athletes from all over the world will be leaving their homes to follow that great dream, the Olympic dream.
September 5th, 1972. 8 men in tracksuits hopped the fence at Munich's Olympic Village, carrying with them Kalashnikov rifles and grenades in duffel bags. An affiliate of the Palestine Liberation Organization. Their mission was to hold Israeli athletes hostage and demand the release of 236 prisoners, 234 in Israel and the 2 leaders of the West Group Bader Meinhof terrorist group. But the mission failed.
There's a big depiction of above and below. The sign of Israel, at least the sign that they're selling for Israel. The sign is actually called the Star of Remphan. And I'm referring to this sign where you have a triangle that points up and then another one that points down, okay? Which gives you 6 corners. So the stars means as above, so below. But in that case, this group represents the Church of Satan. So the stars that you see with the 6 corners and the stars that you see with the 5 corners, like the 5 stars, these are all the star of Remphan, and they have different even the swastika I think is related to the star of Remphan, but we'll see that in another video.
That's right. You're not Hitler. You're not a Nazi. You don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well, I see good things about Hitler also. The Jew.
If you haven't seen that episode title that I did on my YouTube channel, that is titled Astral City, Spiritual Truth and Lies, I think you should watch it if ever you're interested in that content. Anyway, so let's continue. So there's a very obvious division. So, okay. So division of above from below in the depths are the workers with machines. Okay, they're working with machines, which we will see in a few slides. And high above are the sons of men in towers with lecture halls, libraries, theaters, stadiums, women, entertainers. So really, the rich likes to be entertained, while the people living in the depths are always preoccupied with working with machines, which we can also think of our cell phones as working machines. Okay, so this is the entertainment part. So for this Babylon city, there's 2 main characters. Well, there's actually three, but 2 characters that I would like to present. So there's the sun, and then there's the father of the city. So the son is like the prince. Think of the son like the prince and the father as the king. The son, it's like the way the city is designed, at least up, it's like the son has everything for himself. He's like a prince. So all the entertainers are working for him to please him. And even these entertainers have people that train them how to talk, how to move, how to sing, how to do all these gestures, the manners. And you can also think of Marilyn Monroe. You can think of Cher. You can even think of Kim Kardashian, even though she doesn't sing. You can.
Let me entertain you.
Marilyn Monroe.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
Look at you. Okay, tell everyone, because see, I know the process it took to get in this. Tell everyone the process of this whole entire situation.
Yes, well, this is Marilyn Monroe's dress.
Unbelievable.
And it's 60 years old, and she wore this when she sang Happy Birthday to President John F. Kennedy in 1962.
All these women entertainers, especially that wears that gown and that are there to entertain the people that are perceived as the highest of society. And also one thing I want to clarify, when here we're talking about the son of man, just like in the Bible in Genesis, we're talking about the fallen angels who made babies with women, fleshly women, which equals to hybrids. In other words, half man and half demon. We also refer to them as giants, some people Nephilim, sometimes dinosaur, sometimes reptilians, sometimes boogeymen. They have a lot of names, but there's a lot of there's a lot of differences in these stuff. I don't know the subject as well, but it's just to give context. So which of you ladies shall today have the honor of entertaining Master Freder, John Frederson's son? So the prince, his name is Master Feather, and the king, the father, his name is Joe Featherson. So here is the son. So he was being entertained by these entertainers, these beautiful ladies with costumes and wigs and makeup and jewelry, dresses, gowns. But a woman appeared at the door and she had all the attention of the prince. Here she is. Oh! Her name was Maria. And this is a reference to Marie, the Virgin Mary. So remember, this is a German movie. So of course, to play this Virgin Mary, they decided to go with a blonde girl. Okay, she really looks innocent. And see, she has children around her. And seems like the children likes her. So just notice in this scene, the children are wearing black clothes in reference to the fact that they're the children of the workers in the death. So she brought the children upstairs, and see, she's wearing a light gown, contrary to them and to the workers downstairs. And who is Maria? We will see further who is Maria, but she's the face of idolatry. She has these puppy eyes. She really looks natural. She looks like really a servant, a simple woman. And because she's so simple, I feel like the beauty, we see more of her face and her kindness. Because sometimes I feel like even when you dress and you just do too much, sometimes it's just too much. And you can't even see yourself. But when sometimes you keep it light and simple, it's always better. Okay, so beauty. Okay, let's talk about beauty. Maria, she's depicting beauty. So beauty in reference to the image of women. So Maria had children's and men's heart. So see, she had the heart of the children, and she also had the heart of the prince. And I think it's related to her innocence. She held the position of preacher to entertain the men workers in the deaths. And also she looked after their kids. Maria was worshipped for her beauty and praised for her seducing words. And this is a reference, okay, to how women have a persuasion power, in other words. And I don't think it's a bad thing. But it's a bad thing for men in a sense where if they come across a woman that is evil, okay? In the Bible, they call it the stranger woman. If they get entertained by them and they open the door to this type of woman, the stranger's woman, the harlot, then you can be sure they will be destroyed, just like the story of Samson. When Delilah asked her all of his secrets, and he was so in love that he, after several times she asked, he decided to tell her all. If a man finds a wise woman, which is a gift from God, from the only God, then he can be sure he's going to be in the right hand, because woman has this persuasion power, and it is what it is. Okay, beauty, men loves beauty. It's really something that they seek after when looking at a woman. Women are beautiful creatures. So perceived to be preaching peace, the woman was directing them to the mediator, the Antichrist. So in other words, Marie was seducing the men's worker to worship someone other than God. And in that case, the Antichrist. Let's continue. So this is a beautiful image of Babylon, and you can see how thick and powerful in terms of the view the tower is. And of course, all the lights, there's a lot of movement. This is a city that doesn't sleep. Then also you see the bridges just above the streets. And you also have flying machines that flies in the city. See the tower, once again, very heavy in the landscape. And of course, the lower you are, lesser lights, and the higher you are, you have all the lights and very big windows too. There's a difference with the windows. Okay, so this is the father. This is Joe Fredersen. Here he is. So he's introduced with a Masonic gesture where he's hiding his right hand. And this is a symbology to represent someone who plays both sides. And what do I mean by playing both sides? Just think about the chess game. So sometimes you see someone playing alone. He's playing white and he's playing black. Well, this is the same concept. He's playing both sides. So he's not only, he wants to play the role of the savior, but he's also the one causing all of these problems. Okay, so the sun went down, okay, after he's seeing this beautiful woman, Maria, okay, since she's working in the desk. So he decided to follow her, and he saw the condition of the workers, the devs, because the devs has this reputation to be hell. So your magnificent city, Father, and you the brain of the city, and all of us in the city's light, okay? The city light, which reminds me of New York. So this is the view that he has, you know, the big windows, and he's wearing his suit, you know, this big desk, the view also. It's like, I feel like this view in every sci-fi movie or movies that talks about cities, there's always this view, the view of the king, okay, in Satan in that case. Okay, so but the minds that had conceived the Tower of Babel could not build it. The task was too great, so they hired hands for wages. So you see this Babylon utopia, nightmare. So to construct something like this, of course they need hands, okay? With the few that are on top, I don't think they have enough hands to build this. So of course they went to the bottom of the pyramids where the people are, and they hired them. So the father is the brain. So he's the brain of all of this city, the structure, the system. And then the workers are the ones who built it for wages. So basically he's speaking to his father because he's scared, because he realized how numerous the people were. So he said, and where are the people, Father, whose hands built your city? And the reason why he's asking his father is because at the top, you don't see any of these workers that you're going to see in the depths. None of them on top. So he's asking his father, where are they? Okay, the one who builds the city. So common sense, they should be like on top too, you know? But nah. The king needed slaves to build the city for him. So he's thinking, he's panicking. The son is panicking. The master, the Antichrist, the son is panicking. So what if one day those in the death rise up against you? Which is a really good question. Okay, so now this is the architecture. So you see the buses, or this is a train that is using the bridge. And I've seen one of these bridge in Ottawa linking to, I think it was a commercial space that was linked with a bridge. But I've also seen it in condos, in residential buildings, where they relate to condo buildings with a bridge. So once again, see the cars, the traffic. Can you imagine the Oh my God, this is crazy, very loud. And this is the place where the workers in the desks are working. So this is this big machine that you come to when you first arrive. Then inside, see the workers are working with machines like this one here. And that reminds me of the casino, when you just like press buttons and it's like You don't even understand what you're doing. And here in the middle, you have the master who's looking for his woman, Maria. Then see, the machines are working with electricity. So there's high voltage. So yes, there's a lot of risk attached to it. Then an explosion happened in that scene. And this is one of the scenes that made the master panic and go to his father. And then so when the machine exploded, so you see all the smoke, the people running, falling, dying. And then the word Moloch appeared. And what's interesting with this is that Moloch, for those who know, Moloch is actually a Baal, a false god, a demon god. Generally, he has this aspect of a goat, but sometimes also he looks like a bull. Sometimes he looks like a dragon. Sometimes he looks like an owl. So it's basically a god where people went to their temple for sacrifice, and they sacrificed their kids. But in that case, what's interesting, what I learned at least in that movie, is that sacrifice is not only about killing children. It's also about killing workers. Okay, so Moloch, and also notice the ovo. The ovo, and for those who knows, ovo is Drake's logo. The artist, the singer, Drake.
Okay, you need to get done at work, come over.
So this is like the eye, and this is like the nose. And this is in reference also to the Bohemian Club, where they sacrifice once again to the Baal gods. So the machine transformed into a mouth. Okay, this is Baal. And you know, all the smokes. And then you see the workers who are a reference to the Israelites getting inside. You know, they have their head shaved. And having your head shaved is a sign. It's like a humiliation ritual in a sense. It's you humiliating yourself to God. It's like a way of humiliating yourself, basically, to be shaved head. And this could be a reference to also the Yeezy collection that was presented with all the mannequins or models with their head shaved and wearing like skin color clothing. But in that case, so just like the above and below sign that we saw at the beginning of this presentation, the above and below sign that they're using also for Israel. Israel is actually black. So they've changed their aspect, but it's okay. It's just because in terms of discussion, it doesn't change anything. But it's just to say that this Star of Remphan, the 4-corner star and the 6-corner star, is the logo of the synagogue of Satan, in other words, which we will see later. But if you haven't, I would suggest you to watch Babylon in Hidden Sight, a series that I have here in my channel. And yes, I think you'll understand more. Okay, so and then we have these two people that looks like pharaohs, I'm not sure, standing at the door, and they seems to have mask on. But the hands that built the Tower of Babel knew nothing of the dream of the brain that had conceived it. So it's as if the Israelites, the workers, the people were being tricked. So in their mind, they're like, okay, I'm just working. I need money. I need to pay this. I need to pay that. I need to take care of my children. I need, I need. So because they're so needy and they don't put their trust in God, they haven't asked themselves any questions like, what am I building? Because whenever you put your hands to, you're building something. And it's always important to be aware of what is this project that you're contributing. It's important. So pray about everything. Okay, so then, because the master is looking for his woman, Maria. So he arrives at the door 5. And this is a reference. 5 represents the Pentagon, which we'll see later. But Room 5. So think about the 5 stars, the Pentagon, and also what 5 represents in the Bible. It was the day where God created the beast. Okay. So he enters, and then he sees this worker working on the clock, on time. So the master comes, and I think he had like compassion, because one of the things, when he saw Maria coming with the kids, one thing she said that all these children, although they're the workers' children, they're still the brothers and sisters of the club of the sons of the fallen, of the Son of Man, in other words. So this is something he kept in mind. So he decided to take the place of the worker, and the place of the worker was Georgie, and in reference to George, in reference also to George Floyd, in reference also to the 11-8-11. It's like 11. You can either read it, okay, like this. 11-11, like time. It's 11-11. Okay. And some people say, make a wish. Anyway. Or you can read it like 9-11. I feel like, because to be honest, when I saw this sign, I automatically thought of New York. And New York also represents 8. If you're familiar, if you've seen the images of the tarot cards, there's a card that is that has an 8, and this is like yin yang playing both sides. It's like this symbol, and it represents 8. It represents change. It represents New York, because New York represents 8. So there's a lot of way to read it, but this is really my input. Okay, that's what I understand from this image. So then the master took the place of the worker, and when the clock was about to arrive to 10, he was resisting a lot. He was resisting. But the 10 was in reference to the 10 plagues of Egypt. Okay, so what happened? He said, Father, Father, will 10 hours never end? And yeah, I think it's a reference to the plagues of Egypt. Let's see. Oh. So the 10 plagues. So you had the plague of blood, where the water was changed to blood. Then you have the plague of frogs. So they had a lot of frogs in the land. Then you had gnats. Okay. By their secret arts. Even the magician couldn't get rid of them. Okay, then there is the plague of flies. Then there was the plague of livestock. Then the plague of boils. The plague of ale. Then there was the plague of locust. Ew. Then the plague of darkness. And then finally, there was the plague of the firstborn, which could be also a reference to abortion, or just people offering their kids to the Baal, killing their kids to Baal. Which abortion is actually the same thing as you offering your kid to Baal. Okay. So let's go back to the presentation. So that's what he says. So the next thing is like, Father, Father, will 10 hours never end? So in reference to the plague. Then Maria, the preacher, who was being praised for her beauty.
You know I dealt with you the nicest.
So here she is praying. So of course we all know that. Okay, Babylon is also the Pope. She's also Maria, and this is basically what we're saying here. Marie, because like Catholics are worshiping Mary instead of worshiping Jesus, you know? So it's really like the goal of idolatry is really to lead you astray from Jesus. Because Jesus says in the word, He's the light, He's the path to the Father. So no man can go to the Father but through Him. So this is really the goal, to lead you astray. And sometimes the devil will use beauty, and also especially to seduce men, because men are really vulnerable to woman's beauty.
Let me make you smile. Let me do a few tricks.
So head and hands need a mediator. And this is really key. Like, think about, let me go back. So think about the pyramids at the beginning. Ooh. Okay, so here. So on top, so you have the watcher, the king, in other words. Some people, the star of Remphan or Remphan. Or at the top, Remphan is living at the top, just like the eye, the evil eye, the cameras, however you want to call it, okay? The spiritual eye, the third eye. So he's the one watching, who built the city, the mind behind the structure. And so he's the head, in other words. And at the bottom are the hands, the ones who does what the king says. Okay, the workers, the slaves, in other words. And Maria, and Maria is filling that role. She is the one, or not really filling that role, but she's the priest who's directing the people, the hands, to the Antichrist, who is... Okay, it's really complicated, but let me continue. So head and hands need a mediator. So she's leading basically the people, the hands, to the mediator. She's a preacher. So see, like, all the men, their heart are touched by her words and how her appearance, she looks innocent. She's like the star of their, of their darkness, in other words. And remember, they live underneath, when they don't even have access to the sky. But they live under ceilings and artificial light. So the mediator between the head and the hands must be the heart. Keep that in mind. If you do understand this line, I'm not going to over explain it, but I think you just need to watch the movie, and it all has to do with idolatry. So here she is. It's like in other words, the synagogue where they unite. So you see the man kneeling over the preacher, who's Maria, and the Jesus. They're kneeling. So for these few scenes, let's talk about sacrifice. Okay, so what we see here, it's the Sabbath being sacrificed. The devil is after your will. Moloch is willing to deceive you with sight and words to get your will. And some things we have to remember, we have a will. And of course, if you listen to someone who's telling you to go against God, and you hang around them, you love them, then what's going to happen? You're probably going to turn your back from God. So what we listen to and what we entertain ourselves with is important. It's like a way of, because entertainment is used as a way to program our mind, to program our thoughts, and to, even though we laugh, sometimes we're really being entertained, but we're also being programmed. Something not to forget.
If they like your music, they're listening to it over and over and over. It's programming. And they might try some of those things they hear you talk about. I had a conversation with Future one time in the studio, and he said something that I will never forget. And he laughed while he said it. He was like, yeah, you know, people be thinking I'm really doing a lot of drugs because I rap about it all the time. But they don't even be knowing I'm a lightweight. There are a lot of people that are huge Future fans, for instance. And that's how they're going to feel closer to him, because they're doing what they're hearing him rap about.
I don't need help, I pay the bills on time.
So Babylon, Maria, the woman entertainer that keeps the workers asleep, the city of the dead. So it's like Israel, the people, the workers are literally dead. And that reminds me of a verse where God was saying that his people was dead, but he will revive them. He will open their eyes. And I think that's why this video is made. So workers in the death are sacrificing their lives for wages, which makes them relying on machines 24/7. Babylon, the city of light. So they rely on electricity. If there's no electricity, listen, everything is done and the city will be flooded. And even electricity is needed for the machines. They need electricity 24/7. They don't even rely on the light of the moon nor the light of the sun. It's really like artificial light that they rely on, which works with machine. Just here in Montreal, we do have electricity, hydroelectricité, that works with water. And these are like machines that always like works, des barrages, in other words. So yeah, the real sacrifice here is that not only they're exchanging their time for wages, they're in idolatry. And the other thing is that they never stops. It never stops. Like, what about rest? It's like their rest, they're going to be, instead of resting, they're being entertained by Maria, the preacher, the deceiver, the one who's leading them to the Antichrist. And here, Maria is also Madonna, because Marie, the depiction of Mary in Catholic is also Madonna. So here we go back to the Pentagon. So the Pentagon, we can think of Washington. They have the Pentagon. Okay, so this is really the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense. Taken from airplane on January 28th. That's funny. And the movie was, I think we had 28 somewhere. 2008. Okay, maybe I'm tripping. Okay, so this is the Pentagon. So they enter the Pentagon, and see on the left it's written Wara. Okay, so the father, the king, so he's in front of this statue, Joe Ferguson, and the statue represents his wife with whom he conceived the master, the son. And what is interesting with his wife is that his wife was actually a giant. You know, like when I told you that in Genesis, the giants, the fallen angels, made babies with son of man, like with fleshly people. I think this is depicting this. So she was clearly maybe a fallen angel, because most of these statues with these big faces, it's a reference to the giants. You can think of the Pharaoh's statue in Egypt, in United States, in other words, the Phoenix and all these big statue, Gilgamesh, all have big faces, and it's really a reference to the fact that they were giants. So he had clearly a baby with a Nephilim, which made the master, which makes him in other words, the Antichrist in this movie. Oh, not the Antichrist. The Antichrist. The Antichrist. But I don't know if it's right exactly. But I'll leave it like that for the context of the movie. So her name was Hell. What a coincidence. So, for my happiness and mankind's blessing. Anyway, so while he was contemplating his wife, the thumb, this is actually a thumb because she died, like it's a thumb, so she's dead, of course. So this man comes. So this man is so weird, okay? He comes and see like he's holding the right hand seems to be damaged, so he has like a glove on it, a black glove. So the father is like, what happened to your hands? And he said, do you think that losing a hand is too high a price to pay for recreating hell? So in this scene, where basically what is happening is that this statue, okay, and this man, so he's thinking of recreating hell. So basically cloning or reincarnated, in other words. He wants to reincarnate hell in another body. Because the spirit never dies, really. So do you think that losing a hand is too high of a price to recreate hell? And then he's bringing the king to his atelier. And here is this AI robot sitting with the star of Remphan above her head. And the star is pointing down. And this is, of course, the same logo of the Church of Satan, Remphan. And then the robot is depicting the star of Remphan.
West. So there's a little anecdotal story.
Today is Halloween, and that is the holy day for modern-day witches and Satanists. Zena LaVey is a Satanist who was baptized into the Church of Satan by her father, Anton LaVey. He founded the Church of Satan back in 1966. Zena says there is no truth to the news reports of satanic sacrifices, and she says Satanists are just getting a bad rap.
So he's basically explaining his plan. So give me another 24 hours and no one, Joe Ferguson, no one will be able to tell a machine man from a mortal. When he said that, I was like, oh no, this is for real. They want to replace us human by machine, but not any type of machine.
Harmony. Back in 2017, Realbotics, a San Marcos-based company, unveiled Harmony, an anatomically correct pleasure robot with a patented animatronic talking head featuring a programmable personality and memory.
Okay, so keep in mind that this man is an alchemist. So we've heard about this profession a lot, or philanthropist, alchemist. So he's basically working with spirits and he's doing like chemical stuff. So he can animate this robot with a spirit. So it's like he's doing magic. I don't know if I could call this magic. So stuff is happening, and these rings reminds me of Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, or even the Retrieving Man, the painting with Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, yeah, exactly. So it's really this that we're looking at, okay? So, you know, like there's a lot of geometry. Okay.
Cardi, tell me about this look, please. Your body popping.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying? And this is what I wanted to give. I wanted to give woman